in a review for any event, I like to go over the summary when it comes to the buckets. There's an issue with this, though. Because it's a team event, we have double the amount of golfers inside the top 10. With that being said, my numbers get all jacked up when it comes to validating whether or not the buckets were successful or not. So I can't really provide you information as to whether or not all of the buckets were successful or not, like the projections that I had. What I can do, though, is tell you that I did create a SweetSpot Optimal that followed all of the buckets. I'm trying to think. Let me... I see one discrepancy already. Last year, twos. There were 3 in the SweetSpot Optimal, but I'm only projecting 0 to 2. Interesting. Maybe I selected the wrong guy. Oh, I know what it is. Again, there are 10 golfers. That's why. See what I'm saying? It gets all jacked up. So even when I have this on the screen, there are technically 12 golfers that finished inside the top 10, or that are technically in an optimal lineup. So that's, yeah, it doesn't work out. So like I said, with it being a team event, the numbers get all wonky. I can't really validate it for you guys, but I did create a SweetSpot Optimal, and I will show it to you guys on the screen. So basically what I like to do at the end of a tournament, at the end of an event, I use all the information that I had leading into the week. I use their group numbers. You know, for this week, it was their team number, their salaries involved, all of the buckets that they're included in, and that obviously goes into the conditionals here. And when I build a lineup, I get the one that you see on the screen, which is really interesting because there was actually a member of the DFS community that had the SweetSpot Optimal. And it's funny because he commented on my video for the optimal lineup saying, oh, so close. And as I was looking at his lineup, I'm like, that looks oddly familiar. The guy's named Degenerate75. Most of you guys know him, you know, doing the Showdown Hoedown stuff. He had this lineup. He had this exact lineup when it came to one of his contests, and he took down a ticket. I thought he took down like $17,000. The ticket was worth $17,000, but he got one regardless, and he did it by hitting the SweetSpot Optimal. So congratulations to that guy. Like, that's insane. So Degenerate75, congratulations, man. This follows, like I said, it follows all of the bucket information. Let me do this again. So I found out that if I don't cross out Justin Suh and Sith Thagala, what ends up happening is the optimizer doesn't create me an optimal lineup. Like here, I'll show you. Let me zoom out just a little bit. So if I hit run optimize, it's going to show one for 816. It's like, that's not how, why would it build me a lineup like that? It makes no sense. So I was just kind of messing around with this and I figured it out. So if I go like that and I hit run optimize again, it'll spit me a lineup for 820. And this again, this was the highest lineup following the SweetSpot process that you could build. And so it scored 820 points. If we go back to the optimal versus the GPP winning lineup scored 806 points. So 820 versus 806 could have taken down the $5 drive the green. So the SweetSpot process worked. The buckets worked. All of it worked. We could have taken down a GPP. Again, one of the guys in the community, I know he didn't follow the SweetSpot process, but had he gotten to that lineup off the SweetSpot process, all the better, but he's still hit the SweetSpot Optimal. So that was really cool to see. Your optimal lineup ended up leaving $1,000 on the table, and it scored 845.5 points. So the SweetSpot Optimal, again, scored 820. Your optimal scored 845, and your GPP winning lineup scored 806. Each lineup used up $49,000 at least, but The optimal left $1,000 on the table, whereas the GPP winning lineup and the sweet spot optimal only left $100 on the table. We talked about this during the preview video when we went over really pass optimal and GPP winning lineups for the Zurich Classic. I kind of had in my head that you wanted to start 10-9-8, 7-7-6, but if I pull this back up again, you started with a 10K golfer, and instead of 2 9s, you did 2 8s. Then it was a 7, and a 6, which still follows the sweet spot process. You can make up to 2 substitutions. Our 9K goes down to an 8K, and boom, we got it. I was a bit stubborn when it came to building my lineups. I just did the 10-9-8, 7-7-6. I did have a lot of Wyndham Clark and Bo Hosler lineups. It just wasn't good enough, and I didn't have them mixed in with the right golfers. So, to me, the review of the Zurich with the sweet spot process was 100% perfect, or not so much perfect, but 100% correct. Could have taken down a GPP. Remember, we aim small to miss small. If we don't hit the optimal lineup, maybe we still win a GPP. Maybe we hit the GPP winner. And in Degenerate 75's case, he did. So, super cool. That is a review of the Zurich. I really don't have anything to talk about outside of it being a team event and all that stuff that goes with the team event. I mean, Xander and Cantlay were the clear favorites. I had them in a lot of my lineups. They came through. The sweet spot optimal, the GPP winning lineup. It was a no-brainer. It almost didn't seem like it was going to be all that great, but still pulled it out. I just didn't have the foresight to put 2 AK golfers together. I wouldn't have gotten to Riley and Hardy, just if I'm being honest. Despite them, you know, being in buckets that I wanted to choose or that I wanted to pick from, my bias was against playing one of those 2 guys. So that is unfortunate, and really that's all that I would care to talk about with the review. I just want to go over the sweet spot process to show you how well it did. So there you go.